little bit of that payback against the Bengals, who didn't want to pay
Fucking pass
him.
rushers.
Fowler filers are open. Okay, so the Trey Hendrickson story, there's certainly another side of that, because that could have, would have, should have been Maxx Crosby just about a week ago. So what now is the situation with Maxx Crosby and the Las Vegas Raiders?
Like our guy Randy Scott, Maxx Crosby is 100% a Raider. He has told the team that since the trade got reversed. He said, look, I'm all in for 2026. If you will have me, let's roll. I will be healthy, ready to play, and give you my best and have a banner season. So talking to sources with the Raiders, they do expect, at least right now, for him to be on the team and with them as they move forward. They've loosened the salary cap. They had to make a lot of signings in free agency thinking they wouldn't have Max. Now they do, but they made the adjustments. Their roster is better. I'm told he likes the free agent additions they made to improve the roster. So everybody seems like they're in a good spot. But since they've already looked at trading them, they're open to that possibility potentially if the right offer would come.
Sure.
We're looking at timelines here. Now it's going to be a little slow, but you got closer to the draft. Perhaps, trade offers will heat up or maybe even closer to the season. But right now he's a Raider, and that's expected for at least a little while.
There are needs to fill certainly in Vegas, a glaring one, quarterback. What are some potential options beyond the draft in Vegas?
I'm going to start with Joe Flacco, who's been around. He's started off
because of the way that he's playing. There's a lot of stuff to get into on that front. There's a lot of stuff to get into with regards to college football. And the one and only Ty Simpson, quarterback for the Alabama Crimson Tide, he's going to be on the show a little bit later on in this hour. Of course, there's some World Baseball Classic stuff to get into because I got something to say. And I got to confess to y'all that what I have to say and what might come out of my mouth might very well be anti-American. What I might say, Stephen A. Smith, might be interpreted as being anti-American. But I'm going to say it anyway. And I'll let you know what that is in just a few minutes. But the first order of business to get into is the National Football League. Because the biggest news coming out of it is the trade that never was, or that was not to be. And that was the Baltimore Ravens giving up 2 first-round picks to acquire the stud himself, Maxx Crosby, from the Las Vegas Raiders, the 5-time Pro Bowl pass rusher, Maxx Crosby. Eric DeCosta, the general manager for the Baltimore Ravens, said he was gutted after the team backed out of the trade with the Raiders. Rather than hear his quote before I respond, listen to his quote.
I've got a responsibility to the Ravens, to this community, to our fans, and to Steve Bisciotti to do what we think is best for the club. And that's what we always try to do. Every decision we make is based on this idea, is this the best thing for the Ravens? It's very, very challenging. Again, I understand how people might, maybe from afar, would feel that way. But nobody's more upset about this than me. Gutted by it, actually. And so a big regret for me. But we will move on as a football team, and I think there's many, many opportunities for us to grow as a team, to become a better team, to build a roster, and to be the team that we want to be.
Lose 45 pounds and become unrecognizable by summer.
On Monday, March 16th.
We're starting the chip.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you believe that, I've got some swampland in East Rutherford, New Jersey to sell you. He lying his ass off, in my humble opinion. Nobody's believing that right now. Nobody's believing he feels gutted, he feels awful, whatever. Listen, let me be very, very clear. Eric DeCosta had every right to do what he did. There was no signed deal. There was no agreement. So much was contingent on the physical for Maxx Crosby and all of that stuff, who's coming off an injury last year where he messed up his meniscus and he got operated on weeks ago. And it's expected that even though he's on course to be ready for the season, he's got some work to do before he gets healthy enough to be able to perform this upcoming season in the National Football League. We get that part. In the end, Eric DeCosta is perfectly within his right to have second thoughts, to have quote-unquote buyer's remorse before buying, and to ultimately reach the conclusion that, hey, in the grand scheme of things, the bottom line is that I don't want to give up 2 first-round picks. Also, Trey Hendrickson was supposed to be gobbled up early in free agency, and that didn't end up being the case. So because that's a new reality, listen, we got an opportunity to get Trey Hendrickson and keep our 2 first-round picks. Why should we give that up for Maxx Crosby? If you had second thoughts and you were straight on the up and up about that, that's to be respected. But when you hear what Eric DeCosta and the Baltimore Ravens ultimately concluded, and news emanates out of Baltimore that Maxx Crosby, who was flown in with his wife and was expecting to have dinner with the Ravens organization and all of this other stuff, when you learn that he did not do well on his physical or stuff like that, this is the kind of stuff that was being said, that there was some concerns that propped up once he took his physical. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that stinks to the high heavens. Because here's the reality. I've got people in the NFL telling me that Eric DeCosta corrupted the system and is dishonorable and dishonest. Those were the words that they associated with him. It wasn't because the deal fell through. It's because you handicapped the Las Vegas Raiders from maximizing whatever marketing potential Maxx Crosby had. Because if you're saying there's concerns on the physical, who else is going to come forward and give up 2 first-round picks? And because the likelihood of that being nobody, essentially, if you're the Raiders, you either have to keep Maxx Crosby, or if you let him go, it's going to be for less compensation than the Baltimore Ravens initially indicated they were willing to give you. Primarily because the Ravens put them in this position. Now, again, it's perfectly within Eric DeCosta's right to do what he did. But how ethical was it? That's really what this comes down to. How right was it? You got to ask yourself that question. 888 Mad Dog 6 is the number to call. It's 888-623-3646. To me, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about them not doing the deal. It's about how it was handled. It did a disservice to Maxx Crosby. It screwed over the Las Vegas Raiders. And maybe you don't care about that, but even though the phone is still going to ring and people are still going to call the Baltimore Ravens about potential deals, how you're looking at DeCosta, I mean, that remains to be seen. It's all suspect. It's all suspect. And you got to look at that right now, and you got to say to yourself, yo, what's the deal? Is that a situation that should have been handled that way? Or was it perfectly within Eric DeCosta's right? And is it perfectly ethical for him as the general manager for the Baltimore Ravens to have him to handle it the way that he handled it? 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call. That's 888-623-3646. I got a bit distracted because I have just learned that Miami of Ohio, who walked in to the MAC tournament as the lone undefeated team in the nation in college basketball, has just gotten knocked off by the University of Massachusetts, UMass, where Marcus Camby used to play, where Lou Rowe and Mike Williams used to play, where John Calipari used to coach, and along with my boy Bruiser Flint. You just got knocked off by UMass, 87-83 in the MAC tournament. And because that's the reality, here's a question for all you college basketball fans out there. Does Miami of Ohio deserve to make the NCAA tournament? It's a legitimate question.